and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would ask that we could add a new number 20 to the agenda this evening, which is about a request for a reduction in a zoning board application fee that just came this afternoon.
I saw that, yeah.
And 21 would be public comment, and adjournment would be number 22. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Public comment? Okay. Communications?
We go first.
Yeah, you got anything?
Yeah, just snow and ice. We've been obviously at it pretty good. And so we've been doing, cleaning up the hamlet, stuff like that. And ice rink, kind of dumping water on that and getting it back in shape. That's about it.
Thank you.
Nice job on the roads. Yes.
Yeah, Andrea, and I'll hear if they're not good. I've heard.
Yeah. Michelle?
Yeah, well, I'm all settled in pretty much. I've been still taking in lots of taxes. Nothing crazy. All my bank accounts have finally been opened. Took a while. We got that done, and I've written about 1.6 million of checks over. So I'm about 66% paid up already to the town portion. So we're getting there.
Good job.
Yep.
Thank you. John?
I have nothing.
Move on to Brett.
I attended the newly elected officials training session, and that was the 6th and the 7th. Very informative. Not ready for any quizzes on it.
A lot of information.
A lot of information for me. It's more about where to find it. Something did make me perk up, and I talked to John about it real quick, and I think I'll send it along to Sheldon and John about foil. They said a couple of things about foil that were against what I had thought about interdepartment communications were not foilable. DDA, nothing in the foreseeable future, not a whole lot of stuff on that. Right off with that, went along to the business association meeting. Starts coming up with those monthly. I think it's a good way for me to be in tune with the hamlet. At least 40 or 50% of the hamlet owners in one fell swoop. I stopped by a couple of times and just talk with the building department and see what's going on. So, just how they're doing, how they're feeling. Do that help along.
Eric?
I have nothing.
Cindy?
Just a couple of things. They are doing a survey. I don't know if this is back to that. I got one. It's very quite a lengthy survey, to be honest with you. And to just let you know,
First of all, the planning board meeting, I want to add it to Orange did a great job. Big shoes to fill, so she did a great job. The only thing up from the board is a property. You probably looked at it. About 40 acres, going to be a homestead, and eventually got horse pack. Whatever. A lot of neighbors came. It sounded fairly contentious at the beginning, but we're very early on in the project, and there's a lot of, I mean, this is a property that's got, I think, 4 or 5 EVOTs. So it's going to be quite an educational thing. It'll take some time. So But everyone seemed nicey and clapping each other on the back at the end. So it was good.
And it's not a commercial paddock, it's just for personal use.
Yeah, it's interesting because I met this couple when we were talking about the bed and breakfast. And ironically, one of the people that got up in the public comment was the woman that has the bed and breakfast with concerns about enforcement over and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, Pond Road that's a hotbed.
Sounds like it.
Thank you. A couple of things we've been trying to village and various others about the ambulance. It's been pushed back several times, the meeting. I don't have a meeting date for it yet, but hopefully that will happen. And I really want to see where Lyman is to have a sit down with Lyman and find out where they are, because in my opinion, they have either got to find a way to compensate the village of Honey Falls, or they have got to hire somebody to be available for the Lyman. But we'll see what transpires. Also, I have a meeting this week with Brian Anderson, the village administrator, regarding the roof on the ambulance building. Just for everyone's sake, we co-own the ambulance building in East Street. We do not own the property. We co-own the building. So we did the big lighting project there a few years ago. We did it by assessed valuation. So we end up paying about 80% of the cost of any additions to that building. Signed up with Danny for a year of internet and computer expertise for the town, which has been great. Very prompt service. He has fantastic for the entire staff. Everybody loves to be able to get in touch with Danny and come and it's promptly, it's fixed correctly. We have the yearly historians report, which I believe you have in your packet. Lollipop Fireman invited all the town supervisors from Monroe County to come over for a tour. And I went over a week or so ago, and it was really interesting. They have a budget. They get no money from taxpayers. Everything is raised internally, and they really do a nice job there. And so I got to walk through. I was there over an hour, and I was amazed. They took me right in where they do you just outside the operating room, and it's all glassed in, and it's really an incredible facility for all kinds of animals. I mean, they've got I always think dogs and cats, but they got snakes and parrots and pigs and you name it, they got it. So it was really interesting.
Did you come home with a puppy?
No, I didn't. I was
We don't go there, but they were reading.
I was getting an
I know,
express from the home front on what don't come home with another animal. Let's see. So from the Monroe County Supervisors Association, I am the liaison to the Monroe County Fishery Advisory Board. And they meet the second Monday of the month. So I've never been to one of their meetings. So last week, on the second Monday of the month, because we didn't have a meeting, I attended their Zoom. Interesting. Let's see, Blaze Soccer came and talked to me about Semmel Road because they had heard all about what we had planned with the military memorial and the splash park, and they would like to expand the amount of fields on that piece of property. Talk to them a little bit. Let's see. And as Michelle mentioned, I received 2 payments from her. One for $629,000, another one for $1.1 million. My communications. Move on to supervisors' monthly report and presentation. So I wanted to have a chance to sit down and go over this with everybody because it's a lot of numbers on one piece of paper. It's an oversimplification, but else, something you folks get every single month. You know, we're all responsible for the financial condition of the town of Mendon. And, you know, I do this daily basis, you don't. And so I want to have a chance to talk a little bit about it and hopefully make everybody understand. So the, it's right now, a fund, general townwide. So in your budget, you can see that there's the A fund, you know, all the elected officials' salaries come out of there, all the buildings, all that type of thing comes out of the A fund. B fund is general park town. So anything basically that we have and the village also has, because village taxpayers don't pay. So for instance, code enforcement's salary and the staff for that, zoning, planning, all that comes out of general park town. DA is highway townwide. That is for, you know, townwide highway. Could include it includes the village, anything that is done townwide. So, and DB is highway park town, which is everything in the town outside the village. So the reason all these are split up is because village taxpayers are already paying for certain services in their village taxes, and town taxpayers are paying for other types of services. For instance, brush pickup. Brush pickup would come out of B, or out of DB, rather, because that is something we only do in the town outside the village, and the village picks up their own brush. The library is pretty simple. It's anything to do with a library, and of course, special districts can be a water district, it could be a lighting district, drainage district, there's a townwide drainage district, anything like that falls in there. So this,
John,
Yeah.
excuse me, so just so that I understand,
Sure.
the general townwide is everything in the town, and the general park town is the village,
town outside the village.
town outside, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I thought it, I already, that's why.
No, maybe I missed.
No, you may not have misunderstood.
So the budget number, this is what's in our budget. Now, this is December, as of December of 2021. So this refers to the 2021 budget. And this is the amended budget. Now, the only way the budget can be as amended is by us. Other than that, so you can see there are very few changes. So this is year to date. So now we're getting into expenditures and, or I'm sorry, we're talking revenues, excuse me. We're talking revenues. This is year to date revenue, all through the various funds. So as you can see, we estimated that we were going to bring in roughly 1.5 million to the A fund. We brought in 1.6 million. So this negative number right here is an excess. And so the percentage of 107% is that we received 107% of what we budgeted. So you come down here and look at B fund. Now, you're probably going to say, wow, we brought in 50% more than we thought we would. The reason for that is because when we did the budget, and this is going back to like August of 2020, we were right in the pandemic. We had no idea what was going to happen with sales tax. I mean, it was a real jump ball at that point. So you're going to, and that's one of the reasons why you're in sales tax. The village gets their own sales tax. So all the sales tax goes into B and DB. So that's why you see that in DB, we got a lot more revenue and B also than we anticipated, which is it's still a good thing. And you can see there's a percentage down at the bottom. And Dana, can we slide over to expenditures? So same thing with expenditures. This starts the expenditures. Here's the budgeted amount. This is what we thought we were going to spend. This is what we spent. Or that's the amended budget, excuse me. And this is what we spent. So as you can see, we spent 83%, 73%, 97%, 85%. overall 90% of what we thought we were going to spend, we spent, which is, I think, pretty good. We were still pretty good, even though, we were still budgeting for under pandemic type issues. So that shows that for each fund, and you can see where we stand there. Then if you slide over a little bit more, we've got appropriated fund balance. So this is the fund balance that we appropriate to the budget every year. So this is right in the budget. All these numbers coincide with what's in the budget, what we put in there. And this is the budget as amended if we changed anything. So here we did make a slight change, and we did make a change on the L fund. So this is from year to date. So this is to the end of the year, what we spent in fund balance. So technically these all should be in the minuses because we budgeted to use fund balance. The reason that some of them aren't in the minus is because the revenue, either we had more revenue than we thought or we spent less money than we thought. Does anybody have any questions on this part? We'll slide down to the bottom part, Danny. So this is a calculation of surplus funds. So the assigned fund balance, these coincide with those numbers that I showed you that were over in the right-hand column. So this is what we budgeted for the 2021 budget to use in fund balance. And if you do anything with the comptroller's office, they'll tell you, be careful of this because this is not a never-ending supply. These numbers, all but underneath this double line, will not change from January to December. These numbers do not change. So committed, got a little cheat sheet here. Committed are encumbrances. So that's money that, and you'll notice that these dates here are 12/21/20. So that's as of December 31st, 2020. So this is a year old. But when we went into the 21 budget, all this money was encumbered. So in other words, there was a bill to be paid, but maybe we hadn't received the product. So that's why we have to encumber money because we have to have a bill. We can't just say, oh, you know what, I'm going to spend $20 on new pens next year. No, we need something in writing that says we've ordered $20 worth of pens. Restricted is reserves. This is everything that we have in reserves. So there's two types of reserves. There's what's called a type reserve and a specific reserve. A type reserve would be something like highway equipment. You can use it for anything related to the highway equipment. Specific reserves would be if we said we were saving for a specific 10-wheel dump truck. That's a specific reserve. So when you create a reserve, if you're creating a specific reserve, it's subject to permissive referendum going in to reserve when you start the reserve fund. And if it's a type reserve, for instance, like highway equipment, and then we decide we're going to spend the money on a 10-wheel dump truck, then it's subject to permissive referendum to take the money out. And that's what we have to put a notice in the paper. And Sheldon could probably go on for about 10 minutes on permissive referendums.
I think they get the idea.
So that's if you total these numbers over to the right, that's what we have in reserves. Actual fund balance, that's a total of all of those numbers up above. And assigned fund balance, that's what we assigned in the budget, unassigned, this is when people talk about fund balance, this is really what they're talking about, this line right here. This money is not earmarked for anything. This is emergency funding. So the comptroller said we needed a fund balance policy a number of years ago. We passed it. So I monitor that a few times a year to make sure that we have that, because in case of catastrophe, our fund balance policy says that we have enough money to pay the employees, to buy supplies, to run the business basically for 3 months without any revenue. So, if the world comes to a stop, we can go for 3 months on this money right here. And then change in fund balance, this changes every single month because it depends on how much money comes in and how much money comes out. So out of all these numbers on this portion here, this one is the only one, you'll see these numbers change every single month. And like I say, at the end of the year, all these numbers technically should be in the minuses because if you're using fund balance, if this number here was higher than this number here, now we're in trouble. We're broke. Okay, we're out of monopoly money at that point. So for instance, in DA, we budgeted to use 60,000 in fund balance. We used 26,000. That's great. That's fine. But up here in DB, we budgeted 800,000. We used 142. A lot of that is just, what kind of a winter is it going to be? How much salt are we going to use? How much? There's a lot of different things that are going to come into factors to how much of that money we're going to use. So I just thought it would be a good idea because looking at December's is really a really good snapshot for people to see. And then if you could scroll down just a little more, Danny. So these are the two big changes the board made. What about that? It's all right. It doesn't like it.
Doesn't want to stay down there.
So these are two budget changes that we made during the year because we were concerned about DA running short on money. We moved 60,000 over late in 2021, and the library was concerned because they were basically paying the salary of the former director and hired a new one. So we moved that money over so that run out of money. So when you see the first supervisor's report in January, it's going to look a lot different than this. Anybody have any questions? Thank you, Dan. Yeah. So I'll move on to the report.
I already gave all my report earlier. Oh, I see what you're saying.
This is the
Gotcha.
Motion to acknowledge receipt of the clerk's monthly report for December 2021. Received and disbursements in the amount of $4,668.22.
any discussion. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Did I skip something?
Yeah, we didn't do the.
Oh, I'm sorry, we did not. Oh, thank you. So is there a motion to approve acknowledgement of the supervisor's report? So moved. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Thanks for catching this. Minutes. We have minutes from January 3rd, 2022.
To approve the minutes of the regular town board meeting as presented.
In the organization.
In the organizational meeting.
Oh, and the organizational meeting.
That's okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. The budget transfers.
Motion to approve the budget transfers as noted in our agenda.
Normally we don't have budget transfers this early in the year, but the village raised the sewer fee. Opposed. Thank you. Number 10, vouchers.
Make a motion to approve all things on vouchers numbered 22-001 to 22-079 on general tax tract 20-01 in the amount of $460,813.83.
Any discussion?
I just want to make a note of some of the larger payments, and obviously this is a big one because $4,000 that was for American Rock Salt. $3,000 was to the insurance. $216,000 was to the New York State local retirement system.
Mhm.
And then there was another thousand, and to be honest with you,
That's workers' comp.
okay, thank you. I didn't write down the else. There were a lot of fees in there.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I
I
think
think Tom,
Oh, you did second? I'm sorry. Yes, and, we pay a lot of these things up front so that we don't incur service fees or interest and that type of thing. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
And also, library vouchers number 22-007.
22.
Should that be 22?
That should be 22. Thank you. I bet.
22, let me repeat that. Library vouchers number 22-001 to 22-007 on library abstract 22-01 in the amount of $1,259.84 were presented to the town board for payment.
Thank you. Number 11, code enforcement training.
Make a motion to allow attendance at the Finger Lakes Building Officials Annual Education Conference on March 14th. Cost not to exceed $445 from account D3620.401.
Any discussion? Any training? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Next is Highway Department purchase of the international.
The motion to purchase an international 2023 HX620 SBA truck with $1,000 from account DB 511.
So Andy can elaborate on this a little bit, but the price has been a moving target on this truck. So we're trying to get it locked in. So the not to exceed 300,000 is a little excessive, but we have seen.
It jumps anywhere from 5 to 8%. It just keeps going up between the equipment that we're adding on and the price of the truck. It originally, I think we got it locked into 293 something, but John added another 7 just in case between now and tomorrow. Everything's jumping with steel and getting the equipment to put on it. It just keeps going up. So the original budget that I put in for the truck has came up some, and then John added a little bit more just in case. But I believe it's 293.3 something for the price of the truck, if nothing changes between now and tomorrow. Probably will.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we won't spend that unless we have to. The full 300,000.
Yeah, no.
But I don't want to also come back to you in 3 weeks and then find out it's jumped another $2,000-3,000.
I was still looking at this thing, so I was gonna do.
Yeah, it's a year plus out.
Oh, wow. And what do you use this particular?
Everything, it's snowplow, anything we do, it's another 10-wheel truck. We're getting rid of a 2000 or taking to auction a 2011 Volvo. So we trade them up every 10 years or so. The next truck is was to be bid out and everything in 2024. So we got a year in between. So that money for the auction will go into revenue.
Yeah, once the truck is sold at auction, Normally, you don't like to take it too soon. You never know when you're gonna get it.
Yeah, but
Might not go to auction till 2023, I would imagine, right?
it's gonna go to auction this spring.
Oh, well.
Yes, the truck we're getting, hopefully, with the way everything's going, it should be, we get a lot more money than we usually get for them.
Sure.
We'll see how it all shakes out.
But you've been budgeting for this too, right?
Yes,
So this is,
Yep.
we're not financing or anything. This is
Yeah.
what we're buying it, correct?
Nope. No, this comes right out of equipment reserve. Right, that fund there, DB 5110.2. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Next is Highway Department purchase. For third Power Max 65.
Make a motion to purchase the Power Max 65 from Jackson Welding and Gas Products. Not to exceed $3,500. Account DB 5110.
Any discussion?
What is this?
so the same thing, we had an old plasma cutter for 20 years. And in order to repair it, you have to put a computer board in it that was $2,200 to get the board. And you could buy the new one at the time when we started all this was $2,600. And then that jumped up. So the price that was in the budget jumped up. So I wanted to put it back in so that the actual price kind of reflects to what we're buying instead of what was originally put in.
Can you sell the old plasma cutter after you replace
Yeah,
it?
it'll go to auction on a pallet. We'll send a bunch of stuff to auction and someone will buy it for whatever.
So once again, you've got the estimates for both of these, but I did bump this one up to 3,500 just to give us a little cushion in case we find out that it's still on a ship from the Pacific Ocean.
So,
With my stamps.
Yeah. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Next, number 14, Andrew Chetta, unused sick time.
I make a motion to adopt accumulated sick time for Andrew Cachetta as laborer for the highway department until he took office as highway superintendent in November. Not to exceed 960 hours. The town of Mendon will bank the sick time credits to be used upon retirement or unemployment with the town.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Next, summer recreation agreement.
Make a motion to enter into an agreement with the Honey Falls Central School, Village of Honey Falls, Town of West Winfield, Town of Lima, and the Village of for a shared summer recreation program in 2022. Trying to camper with proof of residency in the town of Mendon, excluding the Village of Honey Falls, paid from account B7320.4.
What's that?
Any discussion? This is the usual agreement that we have with the other municipalities and school districts. They've seen a very large increase in the cost of this program, minimum wage, and partly just due to all kinds of increases that you see every day. It's become very program, and we've been moving our fee up a little bit. Last year, the school had complained that they had they really had a tough time staying within the budget. And,
Do we have any opportunities for people to get special discounts?
We-
Financial
we
hardship?
we do not. Some of the other municipalities do offer that,
Okay.
but we have not in the past.
John, remember off the top of your head what last year's fee was?
I believe it was 210 or I think it was
is the price paid per camper. Parents already is correct.
No.
No.
That's what the town amendments been.
That's bad. Okay, do we have a limit?
Do not, I believe the budget is, I believe we have $15,000 in the budget, which we've tracked this a number of years and we know about how many children are probably gonna. Appropriately fund this over the years. But some of the other towns have put a cap on it. If you read last page, which is special terms, the Village of Lyman put a cap on it for $6,000. So if somebody wants to sign up, once they reach that $6,000 threshold, they're gonna pay the full fee, which would be $900. You can see it's quite a difference.
Right.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Next, we have an appointment to the Library Board of Trustees.
This term expiring 12/31/2026.
So, Library Board of Trustees has a opening in their board, and we, with at least one of the trustees, interviewed two individuals. This individual is recommended by the trustees for us to appoint. And I believe you all have this letter of interest. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Declaration of strength.
Second.
These are some things that have been kicking around the office. Mr. Mirsky may have unearthed a couple of.
Shocking.
In a box.
I gotta step in.
Yeah, this is funny, and apparently did be. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? I like the True Value Courts.
Who seconded that?
I did.
Thank you.
True Value Hardware Store across the street. Next is real property exemption for volunteer firefighter and ambulance personnel.
Is that the public hearing or
Sorry?
are we setting the public hearing for that or?
No, I had, that was number 19 to establish the public hearing. Yeah, I did it as two separate things. This is to step to acknowledge the local law and to, acknowledge the state law and move it to adoption by our local town.
So we is acknowledging the state law.
Right, that we want to proceed because we don't have to. But if we want to offer that exemption, we have to public hearing and then have a public hearing.
That we want to have it.
Yes, that's why I added on the agenda.
All right, that seems counterintuitive the way we do everything else. But
Well, I think the first one is different because,
usually we have the public hearing first before we.
this first one is just for acknowledging the state thing. Where is it? This-
Oh, I see what you're saying. No, we're not passing.
We're not passing it.
Am I not saying this right?
So we're acknowledging that.
You are. I think he's,
Okay.
We're resolving am I right? We're resolving this issue.
What I'm doing is saying that we're acknowledging this New York State law.
Right.
That
But it says the town
approved.
hereby approves real property tax
Yes.
exemption.
But it says, the resolution shall take effect immediately upon approval following a public hearing. Because The state law provides that you can't do it until after a public hearing.
Right.
This is just basically a public hearing on the docket. I mean, obviously that's what the next thing is with this. We have to establish this first before we do that.
That's, yes, yeah. Because I wanted everybody to have a chance to read through here and understand. Do we have a motion in a second? No.
Neither.
Before we make more discussion, let's move it.
Okay. I'd so move.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Good question. You wanted to say?
No, you're.
Yeah, I was kind of in the same mindset as Brent. We're not really approving this. We're just acknowledging this.
I would say the way I would say it is that we're moving this state law to be let's say included as part of our local law. Am I saying that right, Sheldon?
Well, first of all, it's a resolution. It's not a local law. The statute authorizes it's either a resolution or a local law. The resolution is a lot simpler procedure. But I'd say, yes, you go ahead and approve this number 18, the way it's written. And then you set the public hearing because it says right in the resolution, it doesn't take effect until there is a public hearing.
Right.
So one of the things I wanted to point out to everybody is that I had the assessor go through some numbers today. So the total tax ramifications is about $4,000 between the Mendon Fire Department and the Honeyett Falls Fire Department. I did not receive any numbers from the ambulance. I know most of their people are paid, so they don't have a whole lot of volunteers, but there are a few volunteers with the ambulance. So it'll tick up a little bit with the ambulance. They're new by the state, and they don't even have a form out yet that the individual would have to fill out to bring into town hall for consideration for the exam. So, but taxable status date is March 1st. So if in order for this to apply to next year's town taxes, it has to be done by March 1st this year. So there, and again, this only applies to the town of Mendon's taxing authority. Does not apply to the village on Honeyett Falls, school district, or Monroe County, even though of those are supposedly looking at this. But if they don't do it by March 1st, it does not go into effect for the taxable status date for this year and the next year. 10% off their assessment.
Off their assessment.
Okay. So I watched the news a week or so ago when this first came out, and even the news that was 10% tax reduction. Well, that roughly $4,000 that the assessor can, that's money that if the budget stayed flat, would be money that everyone else would have to make up. And that $4,000 count against the tax cap as well. So it counts.
Okay, I guess I just, reading that says resolution shall take effect immediately upon approval of public hearing. And the public hearing is advertised to consider the real property exemption. So it just sounds as though we're moving to put it in place after the public hearing. But then the public hearings to consider it. It just, if we get people in here with pitchforks and torches, but we've already put it in place, so I mean, we're not listening to what they're saying.
My response would be that we don't have, after the public, all we're doing is moving this to a public hearing. And that after the public hearing, we would make a decision. I don't think this resolution binds us to a decision, but
Well, probably, it sounds like the board would be more comfortable with you just adopting 19 now, establishing the hearing, and then moving it after the hearing. Am I reading you guys correctly?
I think we're comfortable with that.
we have a motion and a second at 18. So how should we handle this?
With the consent of the movement and seconder, they withdraw it.
I accept to withdraw.
I think I seconded it. Yeah.
Yep.
The schedule for the hearing on your consider the real property exemption for firefighters and ambulance personnel.
I did talk to the Mendon Fire District because they are a taxing authority. I wanted to make sure that they were going to do this since they were asking us to. And they said they like us, they are subject to a public hearing, but they have plans to do it. And we did receive a roster from Honey Falls Fire Department, Mendon Fire Department on all. And it was reviewed by the assessor, but as I say, they would still have to fill out the paperwork and bring it into town hall before March 1st. Once the state figures out what the form is, in order to be eligible, even if we do pass. On February 14th. All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. We have a new number 20, which is a request to waiver of application fee for zoning board of appeals by the Mendon Fire District. Any discussion?
So they came through and requested this in 2017, it was open DBA. Got approved for whatever reasons, it didn't move forward financial. So they're doing it again, but they haven't come back as it expires. They have there's a time clock to do it.
I think it was a 6-month that expired.
If it's a 6-month time clock, to do it.
So now they feel they have the funding, they want to move forward. I think there was, if my memory serves me, there was a difference of opinion about exactly what it should say or something, but apparently it's coming.
Facing our tails by not giving it to them because we don't give it to them, we give it to them in the budget, correct?
Yeah.
Well,
Just makes sense to give it. Waiver.
the other discussion. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Next, we're back to public comment. Danny? Is there a motion for adjournment? Second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Yeah, now what we would do.
There's nobody